For the last couple of years, I've been wondering when I would create this particular video. It was a little over 2 years ago that I was first diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, and then from that the initial treatment was surgery, bowel resection, removal of about a third of my colon, and then chemotherapy to ensure that the rest of the body was removed of the triggers of cancerous growth. And late last year, I was told that there was spread, and it had spread to my lungs, and in fact that I was moved or progressed to stage 4 metastatic cancer. The cancer had metastasized. But even with that, with some treatment, including surgery on both my lungs, the hope was that would significantly move the needle in terms of how long I can live with this disease. And this was also a source for optimism. Now, through that entire process, one of the things I did just to keep my own sanity was I explored the world of these videos. I, for the longest time, had strong interest in different modes of communication, and photography and things like that in general have been a hobby of mine for many years. So kind of made sense, and actually producing the videos in the way that I did to tell the stories of my journey through this disease really did help me in terms of unpacking my own thinking in this very complex new world and putting it back together in a way that makes a little more sense. And that worked very well until now. Last week, following a very detailed PET scan, which is one of the principal tools of cancer diagnosis, I was told that in fact the surgery did not remove the cancer sufficiently, and in fact the spread has now extended. I have multiple new spots in my lungs, additional growth in my lymph node network, as well as things happening back in my colon. Net of all of this is this thing ain't going away anytime soon or ever. Looking forward, this week I got my booking for an immediate re-entry into chemotherapy. That starts on August 8th, which is about 2 weeks from now. And following that, this is described in a very uncomfortable way as palliative in nature. That's of course the word we typically use when aging people or people who are really, really at the tail end of their illness. Basically that's the last step. That's kind of not what this is. It just means that the medical sense of, or the clinical sense of a cure, which in the cancer world has all sorts of really nuanced definitions. Anyways, the cure is not possible. And this is a one-way street. How long that street is, that's a big question still to be defined. Having said that, the range is kind of uncomfortable as well. On the short end, it's as short, according to the oncologist, as 1.5 to 2 years. On the sort of the likely positive end, it's about 5 years. Though there are certainly people who go, well, extend that, and within my family, my sister's husband, who recently passed away, he passed away last year. He went 10 years with a similar diagnosis and a similar illness. So this is pretty heavy duty stuff that Sharon and I are going through right now. For a couple of years, it was actually possible through a whole bunch of different things, and you've seen the techniques that I've used to keep my thoughts focused, to really, really think about how wonderful my life has been, and to really keep nurturing that optimism for a still bright future. It's getting much harder to do that now for very obvious reasons. So, the old cliche of living one day at a time, that's absolutely real in our life right now, because we can now see a possibility of a very short conclusion, but we also maintain a significant amount of, whether it's hope or some rational conjecture on extending that. We've talked a lot over the last little while about how we're going to proceed. And one of the obvious first things that we are doing, when we got the diagnosis, it was about 3 weeks away from the chemo treatment itself. In our minds, we basically have 3 perfect weeks left. And as best as we can, we put aside the crappy part about what happens after that 3 weeks, and we focus on, what if these 3 weeks were really the best weeks of our lives? What would we do? And that's what we've been doing. Sharon took some time off work. You can see we're here in one of our favorite places in the world, and we've done some combination of the kind of work, physical work we love doing around here, but also going out and exploring the countryside and doing things. They're not sophisticated bucket list type stuff, but they're just things that we let slide out of our lives because we've just been too busy or too distracted, and we got back to that. So that's sort of the practical stuff. Looking beyond that, it's kind of hard to really talk too much about that. But the one thing I did want to talk about are the things that happen to your thinking when you shift from something that had lots of reasons for hope to something that's a real bugger to find hope in. And that's when you start getting into the metaphysical, even for a lot of people, the spiritual, the things that are really not entirely rational, but still very much a part of our human existence. And I am no exception to that. And one of the things that at a day-to-day, moment-by-moment level keeps my spirits up is the concept of joy. And this is something that I think so many of us forget. We are obsessed as a civilization on things like fun, pleasure, success, all these really positive things. But joy is very different. Joy is a much more fleeting but highly pronounced singular thing that one feels. And it doesn't have to be from something spectacular like, I win the Stanley Cup. I can barely skate. I'm not going to win the Stanley Cup, of course. But something as simple as having a wonderful side dish in a meal, or having a great conversation with somebody you didn't expect to have a great conversation with. Or listening to a song that it's something from your past where you just listen to it, memories come back, and poof, there is a huge smile on your face, a warmth in your heart, all of that good stuff. That's all joy. Those are the singular moments of joy. And we tend not to focus in today's busy world on things like that. Just a little too fuzzy, little too capricious, and possibly self-serving. But I try to do this every day. And the other part, and maybe the song or music is a good example. There are countless songs right now that I can think of. As soon as I hear it, I'm in tears. The poetry has a profound narrative in it that really relates well to the situation I'm in, or it harkens me back to a previous time. And it's really, really, really amazing just how something like a song can trigger. I was at a live performance of a good friend of mine, and one of the songs that they played was a cover of Neil Young's Long May You Run. I've always liked that song, but at that moment, at that bar, I just broke down. And there was many reasons. If you actually look at their lyrics, there are nuances and different directions the interpretation can go, and all of them came together in one moment. And then I had friends, and Sharon was with me, and very quickly they were able to console me, and I was back on planet Earth. But at that moment I realized a very important thing. Joy and sadness are the same emotion. So let's think about sadness for a while. So this is the opposite of things like joy, right? And you got to think, when somebody has an illness like mine, there's all sorts of things that can make you sad or take you down negative paths. And within those negative paths are other things like fear, dread, despair, anger, all things like that. But among all of those negative things, I find sadness to not be one of those. And in fact, it is an emotion that has a very quick path back to joy if you allow it to do so. So the moment I hear a sad song that really breaks my heart for whatever reason, it could even relate to the situation that I'm in now, all I have to do is think about, well, when did I first hear that song? Who was with me? And what did we do after we heard that song? And what were all the... And as soon as you go down that path, sadness can easily flip into joy. And remember, joy is a fleeting thing. It's not something that profoundly affects all of your life. So for that moment, that sadness became joy. And if you had the good fortune of shedding a few tears while you were sad, that actually helps. It's that catharsis. I do that a lot. Sharon and I, we do that a lot these days. Anytime we talk about something or see something on our long, aimless drives, chances are very high both of us are shedding a couple of tears. We chat with each other, bring back some memories, and normally within a few minutes, a smile comes back to both of our faces. Come full circle, and the moment passes, but we've just experienced a very significant memory and something that fills our heart. So joy and sadness has become very important to me. And the question of where do we go from here, and of course the answer is that we don't really know. What role do these videos have? And what happens going forward? I don't know. But there's a part of me that really, really wants to focus on a lot of the things that I've always enjoyed about the life that I've led. And you know that part of what has kept me really engaged in life still was, in some sense, looking backwards. Not thinking too much about the uncertainties of the future, but looking backwards to how all the amazing things that I've experienced. And as long as I can maintain a line of connection to things that could still happen, it's a good thing. And so I thought maybe focusing a lot on things that are really positive in my past, how it connects to the future, that kind of stuff. Maybe. I don't know. I hope I still make a few more videos, and I hope those statistical models are as flawed as I hope they are, or I believe they are. And we go from there, and I'll have a chance to explore thoughts in creative ways. So here we are. We're at the end of the road. No, not in some dark metaphoric sense. We're literally at the end of the road. Our place is where the concession road in this rural area technically ends. But it doesn't really, because right past this big sign on the road ending, it's actually a continuation of this road. There was a time when this road was a serviceable road, but I just wanted to take you down to this one spot right here and just have a look at that. So that's the limestone structure that comprises the Niagara Escarpment. The Niagara Escarpment is the same geological structure that makes Niagara Falls. So if a bazillion gallons of water were rushing over this cliff onto my head, I would basically have Niagara Falls. It's the exact same structure. That's also our backyard. Look at this place. We get to enjoy this whenever we want. And this road goes pretty far. And it winds. And you just have to watch your footing because there are parts here and there where it's a little tricky. And with that, I'm going to conclude this video, and I'm going to end it with something very special to me. My son Eric, who's a professional musician, sent me a recording that he made, and he said he made this recording, he wrote this song and recorded it the first time he heard about my diagnosis, the original one, the one that was not quite as devastating as the more recent ones have been. But even with that, he just started thinking about all sorts of bigger things. And he wrote this song. I'm not going to explain too much. It will be self-evident. And I mentioned songs that make you cry. Well, you can't help but to just be an utter mess when you listen to this song, especially when you're the composer's dad. But I think you will also agree by the time you hit the end of it, and please listen to the end of it, I had a huge smile on my face, and a lot of things, a lot of harsher thoughts dissipated very quickly, and I had a good day. And today is also going to be a good day, and I hope I can keep doing this and keep exploring my thoughts on this really weird journey. And I thank you for paying attention and being with me every step of the way. Peace and be well.
Pencils, pages, concert stages, old songs left to sing. I can't bring what I leave behind, what I leave behind, what I leave behind, what I leave behind. Pictures, stories, memories, glories, fragments in my head, things unsaid, what I leave behind, what I leave behind, what I leave behind, what I leave behind. Was it worth it? How will I know? Now my time's come. Where did it go? And to show. Old and tired, still I'm inspired. I won't go yet until you forget what I left behind. 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 What I left behind.